Welcome into Power Plays presented by Bet365. I'm Tim Kalinowski, joined by Michael Leboff and Nick Martin. The three of us make up Line Change Action Network's NHL betting podcast. And on Fridays, heading into the Saturday, we talk about our Saturday picks because our podcast is Monday through Wednesday. So what do you get for the weekend? I know it's hoops. I know it's MLB, but we're talking about the pucks. We got a great slate on Saturday here. We are at the top of the order in terms of our draft. We went 2-1 last week. I'm the idiot here, the host that was the offer to ruin our sweep. But Leboff, you had a great week last week with your Philadelphia Flyers pick. Are you going with another dog this week?
Yep, yeah, I'll stick with the underdog theme here. One of us has to give out a pooch, and one of our favorites is the Arizona Coyotes, and let's stick with them here. They're plus 164 hosting the Rangers. Wouldn't be surprised if we see this number grow a little bit too because of the way the Rangers have been going. They look relatively invincible right now, but I do think that this would be a logical place for the Rangers to start Jonathan Quick. And as well as he's played this year, it's obviously a downgrade to their starting goalie, Igor Shesterkin, with the form he's been in of late. I think it just would make sense for Quick to get the nod here with the Rangers wrapping up this quick little road trip and then heading back east for a game with the Penguins in short order right after it. Plus, it's an opponent that they should take care of with whoever is in goal. But there's more to that than just the goaltending here. Like the Coyotes, if you look at the process numbers, they still aren't all that great. They don't seem to tilt the ice at 5-on-5, but this is a team that has played a scrappy brand of hockey here the past couple of weeks. And this is what they were doing earlier on in the year too, when they were pulling upsets like this on a pretty consistent basis. So I like the way that they're going. I think that there's something to be said about getting through the trade deadline for a team like Arizona. A lot of players who you knew were going to be dealt, like Jason Zucker and Matt Dumba. And once you get that stuff settled, then you know the team is together for the rest of the season. I do think that helps teams as it does. It gives minutes to some deserving young players, one of which is Shane Doan's son. But I think I'm just pretty pleased with the way Arizona's going. Big win against the Predators the other night. I think we're going to get a decent chance to sell high on the Rangers here in what could be a sleepy spot after a big win in Colorado the other night.
Yeah, I had Arizona against Nashville on Thursday night, and it feels like getting Arizona and winning some money there against a better opponent. I'm like, I don't know if I don't know if I want to jump back in the pool too quickly. But in terms of a letdown spot for the Rangers here, coming off the win against Colorado, it feels college football-y in terms of you get the big win, and then on deck you have a trip to Mullet Arena and the Arizona Coyotes. So I definitely see where you're going there. And on the flip side of that, I feel like I've gotten burned fading the Rangers far too many times. So it'll be a game time decision for me personally, but I like where your head is at there. Nick, how do we feel about Leboff's number one overall pick?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Tim. I don't mind the pick at all. I'm kind of a game time decision on it. We'll see where the number goes. Yeah, like Mike said, like Arizona's trending upwards. I think one of the main factors that people are kind of forgetting is that most of that disastrous run, they didn't have Keller going, and now he's playing like one of the best forwards in the entire league again. So I think that's a big part of it. 20-17 at home this year, so definitely I would assume they're still highly profitable there without diving into the numbers. So don't mind that at all. Could be a bit of a letdown spot for the Rangers. So I definitely don't mind it. And I would say, yeah, tread lightly if you think this is just the perfect spot for the Rangers to kind of keep rolling. Definitely a little bit comparable to the Nashville letdown we saw on Thursday.
Well, Leboff was on an island last week with the Flyers and it paid off. So credit to him. Nick, snapping it right back to you for your best bet for Saturday slate.
Okay, I'm gonna go with the Los Angeles Kings on the road in Calgary. I just want to keep fading this Calgary team. I still think they're holding up too much market value. I've been going against them every day this week. I was pretty surprised to see the market move against them Thursday night once Wolf was confirmed in. That really didn't make a lot of sense to me. I do think that their play has offered a pretty legitimate drop off with Noah Hannafin and Chris Tanev out of the picture. If you look at what's made them successful or somewhat successful the last two seasons, having one of the best second pairings in the league was a huge reason why. Now they have one of the worst. Shillington's really struggling. That unit's been bad. Shillington might even miss this game. But regardless of who's in, the decor has now become a problem. They've lost 5 in a row. I just don't think they are what they've been like in previous years at all right now. I think the bottom is still kind of coming out. And that's a good thing for Flames fans. You know, you guys know I'm from Calgary. Everyone here is rooting for losses at this point. It feels like the motivation for the team is kind of falling out. So the recent results wouldn't be as bad if Markstrom was in there, but I still think that this is a team that's just showing a far worse process. So even with the assumption that Markstrom will play on Saturday, I think this number is too close. And then you look at the Kings side of things, they're still trying to wrap up this final spot in the wild card. They've drawn some criticism this week from the Canucks fans for the way that they're playing, but this is still a really good defensive team. I like the offensive upside. They're getting a little more out of PLD now. Victor Arvidsson's been really good since coming back in the lineup. So I like them to kind of keep wrapping up this wild card spot here off of a loss in Edmonton. I just thought this number looked a little short, so I want to keep targeting the Kings.
Yeah, I like this Kings pick as well. And we spoke on our podcast this week that it seems like a lot of people are overlooking the Kings because, you know, they didn't make really the flashy trade deadline splash. But ever since that, you know, hiccup that they had in December into January, they've stabilized and they've been better. And I feel like they're flying under the radar a little bit. And you can say Calgary, they've lost 9 in a row. They're due for a win, but I don't think that's a great way to handicap. And when you're due for a win and you're coming off of losses to the Blackhawks and the Blues, and you come back home and you have Vancouver, or you have LA already in Alberta. This is an LA team that is just stronger than Calgary and pretty much everywhere. And look, yeah, Markstrom's an edge, but you don't really know where his head is at considering everything that went down at the deadline. This looks like a team that is ready for the off season to start. So I like where your head's at there. Leboff, it's a little bit pricey maybe for your liking, but what's your temperature on this?
No, I think the Kings are a pretty good bet here. As Nick said, that the bottom has kind of just come out on the Flames. I do wonder how much people are giving them credit for what we saw pre trade deadline moves with losing Tanev and Hanifin. You know, the Markstrom effect is obviously there with if he plays against a Kings goaltending situation that people won't trust in a vacuum, but with the way Los Angeles defends, it really raises the floor for both Riddick and Cam Talbot. So I do think that Los Angeles remains a team you want to keep it in your pocket going into the playoffs, and one that if you think that the path is there for getting like 30-1 on them in the Stanley Cup market is still a decent play. So Los Angeles, the secret's out usually on almost every team that's going to make the playoffs at this point, but for one or two, you can still get decent like big picture numbers on them, and I think Los Angeles is in that conversation right now.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
certainly have the. Oh, my bad, Nick. They certainly have the centers to make a run.
yeah, I was just going to say, you'll hear the quote in every sport with GMs talking about making their trade deadline acquisition with whoever returned to the lineup. But that is especially true for the Kings here, I think, with Arvidsson coming back. Anderson missed a lot of the time. He's one of the most underrated defenders in the league. And then you could probably say the same for PLD, who's been pretty horrific this year, drawn a ton of criticism, but is showing better form recently. So I do think they have kind of some reasons why they can keep trending upwards.
Well, we head into the third and final pick, and it is myself. But before I tell you what it is, I got to tell you that Power Plays is presented by Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than anyone else. Every day, they power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays. And they don't stop there. Keep an eye out for their biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boost. Check out the boost and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. 21 plus only or 18 plus in Kentucky, present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Louisiana, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, and now North Carolina. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER in Colorado, Indiana, Kentucky, Louisiana, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. T's and C's and restrictions apply. So the third and final pick, it's a game time decision for me, guys. I was between two, but I'm going to go with the Vegas Golden Knights at the Minnesota Wild. Vegas a short favorite here, probably like it up to -130. Initially, when I saw this line come out, I was thinking that I was possibly going to be actually interested in the Wild just because this is a tough schedule or travel spot rather for Vegas. They've had a lot of miles on the tires here, traveling across the country, then up north, back down south. But the reality of the situation is that Vegas is much better than Minnesota. And this line, I think, should be a little longer in terms in favor of Vegas. Minnesota has not been playing well in the last couple of weeks. They've been buoyed by 2 wins over San Jose and Anaheim. And I think that you can't overlook the rest of the games on the schedule as of late for Minnesota, where they just have not they just have not been up to par. Vegas is getting healthier. They obviously had the wild trade deadline. And so I just think that this is just way too short on Vegas here. I think there might be a little too much travel baked into this, maybe a little too much Minnesota's record again with those wins over Anaheim and San Jose. So I'm going to lay it here with Vegas. Leboff, am I hot or cold?
No, this was going to be my pick if you guys didn't allow me to bet the Coyotes, which was definitely a real possibility. So I'm happy that this game ended up in the show because I think it's a good pick. And like you said, I think the travel situation is allowing you to get a little bit of a discount on a Knights team. And for some reason, like Nick was talking about with the Flames a little bit, for some reason the Minnesota Wild seem to catch more love than I think that they deserve from the betting market. I know Vegas's schedule hasn't been all that crazy for the past in terms of like the strength of opposition, but they're defending at an elite clip of late. Their 5-on-5 play has greatly improved. We talked about how like for a long stretch there, Vegas was one of the worst 5-on-5 statistical profiles in the NHL, at least among teams that were bound for the playoffs. They seem to have corrected that, and I do think that this is a team that should logically get better with each passing period, with the way that they're embedding new, really good players into their team. And as long as the goaltending holds up and stays healthy with Logan Thompson, like Vegas remains dangerous. And I think you're just looking at a pretty wide gap between a Wild team that is not driving play at the rate that we've seen from them in the past few years, which is a pretty big reason why they're not going to go to the playoffs. And of course, the goaltending hasn't been as good, although it's been better of late for Minnesota. So I do think that you're onto something here with Vegas as a short favorite.
Yeah, and I was also a little surprised that there wasn't a little more Vegas needs to keep their pedal to the metal baked into this. So again, still short. Nick, I think you're on the Knights as well.
Yeah, I'm on the Knights as well here. I think you guys are probably selling the Wild's month a little short. I can see how we're arriving at this line. The Wild ranks second in the league in expected goals this month. They're 7-1-2. They've been playing pretty good, but I view this as really similar to the Kings spot where they kind of held up too much value and lost 6-0. Where the main thing that I think's been going on for Minnesota is they haven't played anyone in an overly tough spot. Really just the Avs. They did beat the Preds, but the Preds were playing back-to-back in that matchup. So I think a lot of what's going on with the Wild holding up surprisingly decent numbers is just that they've been, analytically speaking, pretty good versus a really soft scheduling patch. And then I look at the Knights, it's kind of been the exact opposite. I was surprised to see them open at plus 114 and even higher versus the Jets on Thursday night. And this just looks kind of like the same thing to me, where they're at the opposite end of things. The fact that their process had been so bad for so long is kind of keeping numbers close. But I think the main factor is that now we're seeing the Knights make this push. Everyone had kind of been waiting all year for Vegas to make this push. Like for 41 games of the season, they're below 500. And now they've got all their guys back in the lineup. They seem to have a higher level of urgency. Eichel, Marchessault, Barbashev suddenly one of the very best lines in the league again, which isn't surprising if you watched the playoffs last year. So I can see where the market is getting the Wild respect, but I think that's just makes this another one of these good times to target the Knights. I think it's pretty comparable to the Jets game. So yeah, I'm with you guys. I like the Knights here.
Well, there you have it. That's 3 best bets for Saturday's loaded slate. Leboff, he's on the Yotes as a dog. Our Yotes, Nick, he is laying it with the Los Angeles Kings, and I'm laying it as well with the Vegas Golden Knights. We appreciate you making time for the NHL slate on this loaded, like I said, MLB, March Madness in full force, but you got to make room to bet the pucks. I'm Tim Kalinowski. That's Michael Leboff. That over there is Nick Martin. I hope you enjoyed this Friday and Saturday edition of Power Plays presented by Bet365, and we will see you on Line Change next week.